my name's Duncan Watson. I was the voice of Charlie Brown from 1975 to 77. I was a third grader in school when I got cast as the voice of Charlie Brown, and of course I knew Peanuts was a big deal, having read it faithfully in the comic strip. But I mean, I didn't understand, sort of the juggernaut that it was going to become. Even though, when the specials come out, it was an event, and you had to gather around the TV. Was it really a holiday unless the Peanut special was on? And I don't think it was, but. I did three of the specials, and then I was starting to tape It's Arbor Day Charlie Brown. I would have been 14 years old, and that's when it happened.
I never had that experience, so I'm not sure what it is. So.
Yeah, well,
I still sound like a 12-year-old.
It's when your voice starts to crack with the maturing into adulthood, and that's the end of the road for a Charlie Brown.
Bobby Brady syndrome.
And it's time to change.
How is it for you, Patricia, doing your run?
Hi, I'm Patricia Pats, and I was Peppermint Patty from 78 to 80. And so I was doing a little play up in San Francisco that was called Annie. At the time, it was kind of a big deal. I was the original Los Angeles Annie, so Andrea McArdle was in New York, still playing it on Broadway when they cast me for the show, and we toured in San Francisco. So Charles Schulz and Lee Mendelson, who was our producer, came to see the show and offered me the role. I had, like Duncan, I'd already been watching the shows for years. It was always a big family thing that we would gather around the TV for the Christmas, for the Halloween, for Easter. All of those had already come out. And my mom would get us big things of candy and Jiffy Pop popcorn. For those of you that don't know Jiffy Pop, you'd put it on the stove and you'd shake it, and the tin foil would raise up, and it was quite the production. And it was Peanuts, The Sound of Music, and The Wizard of Oz. And if any of those shows were on, we got together as a family. And I think about that now, and I realize just how unique that was, because we were not a tight-knit family. We didn't do a lot of, family things together other than theater. We were part of a theater group. So those moments really stand out in my mind as being super important times for me as a child. And then I got the opportunity to do this, which was really cool.
That's cool. And you brought that up. It's kind of the same for me. My brothers and I, we never, watch the same stuff. Kids, we argue stuff like that, but seeing Great Pumpkin, Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day, whenever you take the little ABC spinner, whatever the sound was,
right.
You knew, I think Peanuts is coming on, and it was like, same thing.
It was
Jiffy
CBS,
Pop.
wasn't
CBS,
it?
yeah, whatever. They like the little, yeah. But it's been like that for generations of kids. So,
yeah.
So one question I usually ask everybody, it's a little different with you guys just doing voices, but technically, you guys have action figures and statues and ornaments and things like that. I'm a big plastic chuffa guy, so So what is it like when you walk into a store and you're like, that's me? Do you have that feeling still, or has it passed? Maybe at one point in time you did oh, hey, look, that's a Peppermint Patty ornament, or a Charlie Brown bed sheet. That's me.
My kids are horrified when I see a Charlie Brown thing somewhere, because I feel compelled to point out that I was associated with that. I don't know why that happens to be, but it is a little bit of a curse and a blessing at the same time, because there are some people who react predictably, where there would be oh, that's cool, thanks a lot, next. But there are some people who are fans, like the people that are here at the con here, and they just think that's the coolest thing ever, and it still remains cool to my kids. So that's the good news. But I mean there's nothing that's not branded with Peanuts something somewhere, right? I mean, it's everywhere, and I still think it's an amazing, enduring legacy that I'm proud and humbled to be associated with it, and I'm proud of having been part of that history and even as part of it today.
Yeah, I mean, even they just re-released the snow cone machine, like the exact same one. at this, I was like, oh my gosh, I bought one. It's like, yeah, I'm buying the snow cone machine. So yeah, no,
My daughter could care less that I did anything ever in my life.
that's cool. I didn't know you were Annie. I mean, I grew up on Annie too. I mean, everything 80s, I just absorbed it all. But no, it's Peanuts is a cool thing. It's super duper special. Like it never gets old. You know, my daughter's 24 now. I got nephews who are like 7 and 9, and they still watch. Everyone, it's never gonna stop. I think it's baked into our culture. You know, it's like it's no different than Peanuts. Apple pie and fireworks basically. So it's cool.
What I realized that it was a big deal was not even so much having been cast and even going to the recording studio and doing the recordings. It was when the TV guide came out and my name was in the TV guide. So, a lot of you may not remember this, but I mean, in order to know what was on television, you had to get a TV guide. It was available in every supermarket, and in order to watch TV, you had to have that, because when a show came on, the show came on and there was no video recorders, there was no nothing. So unless you were there at the prescribed time, you couldn't watch the show you wanted to watch. But when I saw my name in the TV guide, I was over the moon, because that was when I knew it was a big deal.
It's like the name and lights kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
See, and I think I came at it from a different perspective, because I was a professional actor to begin with and had started working at 6 years old and had done dozens and dozens of plays and had already done a series with Norman Lear. And so for me, it was just another job. And I knew it was cool, because I grew up on it, but I kind of think it wasn't quite the level of, oh my God. By that point, I'd been on the Dinah Shore Show and Merv Griffin and Mike Douglas, and I'd met Lucille Ball and Michael Jackson. Okay, yeah, my name's in the TV guide.
That's crazy.
I was not a professional actor and I had no talent.
So I'm kind of the same way. So I'm not like toot my own horn, but I was able to. I have a friend who does movies, and I was able to be in a couple. So the first time I got to see my name on the credits at the end of the movie, I was like, "Oh my God, that actually happened!" So probably it's like, wow, it was super cool. And same thing, my kids are like, whatever.
Yeah.
So
Now, you have other talents. You wrote a book.
yes.
So, that takes a certain level of talent that I haven't acquired yet, because I don't have a book that I've written. So kudos to you.
Thank you very much. Well, I mean, as you all know, the Peanuts voice actors are all kids, and it's you're not inhabiting a character. You're literally using the voice, because they've selected you, because the voice has continuity from the previous voice actors that voiced out, basically. And so they tried to keep the continuity similar. And so when one would voice out, they would hold auditions for the next one. And then, when that one voiced out, it just kept on going. I think there's been like 50 Charlie Browns over the course of time.
22.
Only 22?
22.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Your
It's a smaller group than
club
you
got a little
thought.
more
All right.
exclusive.
I'm in rare air.
I know. There's 18 Peppermint Patties, and there's 22 Lucy's, Charlie Brown's, and Linus's, and then the rest sort of taper off from there.
I love learning new things about this kind of thing. I really do. This is awesome. Thank you.
I'm a bit of a Peanuts geek.
And the crazy thing is too, is like the job they did, this is before, you could find kids on the internet doing voices and things like that. And the continuity is really good. It's really good up until, obviously like the last one, it sounded like Charlie Brown, but, they use kids off other shows and stuff like that. So I don't think continuity was as important with the new one, the one they released in theaters there, like 9 years ago.
The last one was the only one that wasn't done by the original group.
Yeah.
By the producers, Lee Mendelson and Bill Melendez, and all of those weren't involved with that last movie, and that's the first one that they weren't.
Yeah. It was still good. I mean, it was still very, very, I was surprised how good it was. So I said, I love this stuff, but I have Snoopy stuff over my house and Charlie Brown stuff. I mean, it's all over the place. So my daughter's got this really cool. She got drawn at a Comic-Con. We went to a big one, and it's Velma and Marcy side by side. So those are like two of her favorite characters. But let me ask you this. So obviously, you did the ones you did, and again, we talked about it. It's a tight window. You get to do this kind of stuff. So there are times like you're sitting around like in November, and the Thanksgiving one pops on, and you're like, man, damn, missed it by a couple of years.
Well, I mean, of course, who wouldn't have wanted to have been associated with those particularly iconic ones? But I am grateful that I got to be in at least one of what I would consider the top tier ones, which was Be My Valentine, Charlie Brown.
Yeah, it's like one of the big six or something like that, whatever you want to call it. I think it's like the second one I ever saw. First one was Thanksgiving, and then I saw Valentine's Day before I even saw Christmas.
Well, I mean, it's funny because, I mean, you know, having played Charlie Brown and Be My Valentine, Charlie Brown, my life has been very parallel to that experience that Charlie Brown had in Be My Valentine, Charlie Brown, where I keep going into situations like Valentine's Day, bringing 2 briefcases to school thinking I'm getting all these Valentines, and I don't get a single Valentine, and it's just like exactly like Charlie Brown. That mirrors my life.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So we're going to get some audience questions. Who's got, someone out there's got something? Don't be shy. I mean, I can keep going if you want, but right here, sir.
It kind of depended on which one it was. So, a little kind of backstory that some people don't know. Lee Mendelsohn, the producer, and Charles Schulz did not get along, apparently at all. And so there were some shows that he never showed up for.
Never saw him.
He never saw him. He came to, I think, 2 of my tapings. But again, it was a kind of a different situation that I was Annie and he had been the one to hire me. So I think it was a little different for that reason, although at the time I just thought he was there for all the tapings. Years later, he was extraordinarily involved in the Charlie Brown and Snoopy show, which Brad Keston, who's another Charlie Brown, I go out to shows with him sometimes, and he was at every single taping, every single day, and so Brad got to know him quite well. So it just depended on the show and how involved he was with it.
That's cool. Ma'am, right here.
So as children, were you in like a studio and doing just the voiceovers, or were you actually interacting with your other characters and doing like play and then?
Again, it depended. My first day I was in with a group of other kids, and we did some background, what they call Foley work, which is where you stand around a microphone and go, yay, go Charlie Brown, yeah! And then you switch places, and you get to a different part of the microphone and go, yay, hey, that's cool, go! And then they blend it all together to make it sound like there's a whole lot of people there, even though there was only about maybe 5 of us. Most of the other time, it was just me and Bill Melendez, our director, in the room, and a guy behind the glass running the sound.
Right. So this was the role of the director. So the director, Bill Melendez, would be in studio with us. And now Melanie, who voiced Lucy when I was doing it, Melanie Cohn, was in the studio, but not playing off of me. So she would read her lines, you know, when it was her turn in the voice box, and then, you know, we would be sitting around in the engineering booth eating candy bars, waiting for our turn, and then, you know, then he would prompt you, and then, you know, of course, you know, part of the director's responsibility was to say, oh, I want you to say this more like this or like that. But, you know, we were using our normal voices, but sometimes you needed to change the inflection depending on what they were looking to do. So, like, I would have probably read it originally like, you didn't have to say that. No, we want you to emphasize that more. You didn't have to say that. That kind of a thing.
So I have a quick question. Were you, what time of day was it? Was it after school that you guys all did this, or was it during the day?
No, this was one of the unfortunate things when you're when you're in a middle school, you want to be a zebra. You want to be part of the herd. And so the producers would send a limousine to the school to pick me up, and bring me into San Francisco to do the voice recordings. And it was a horrifying thing because I didn't want, it was during the school day. And so I would go into San Francisco for a couple hours and do my work and then be dropped back off at school in the limousine. It was horrifying.
I got the limousine too, but I didn't think it was horrifying.
When you guys were doing the recordings, was it voice before animation back then, or did they give you like stills? So you guys were you guys lining up with or they draw after the fact?
That's a great question. So in my era, I can't speak for Patricia's, but they do the voice before the animation.
Okay.
So because the animation was what took the time, and then they would use the voicing to move the mouth a little bit. But I mean, I got to go see the animation process down in Hollywood, and it was an absolute factory of people making drawings. Every single movement was a different drawing, and so these were all animated cells. And somebody not only had to draw the cell, but they had to color it and keep the color consistent with it. And so it would take tens of thousands of drawings to make a 30-minute or 20-minute special, because with the commercials, it was 20 minutes. Yeah. So I mean, it was an amazing process, and I know that computer design is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. You can do, with one person what 100 people could do, but I'm still a fan of the old school.
Yeah, I'm a big 2D like animation, old school Disney kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like the cells, actually, I have an original cell. It's it's signed by Charles. That's one of my prized possessions. So it's from Great Pumpkin. So yeah, it was my wife was upset. It was not cheap, but that's what Comic-Cons are for impulse purchases, to upset your spouse. Okay, who else has a question? Right here.
It was great.
Yeah, I mean, I would never qualify it as being something other than it was cool and fun, because I mean, I was 12 years old when I was doing it, 12 to 14, and so I had that sort of, I was more wondrous at that point in my life, and so everything was cool. Going into the recording studio was cool, and gathering around the TV to watch it, and we had a camera set up so that we could take still photos, and I have these things in my scrapbook, and so that, there was a lot of great experiences with it, but at the same time, from a social standpoint in my schooling, it was challenging because a lot of my peers were jealous of the attention I was getting, and I just didn't like standing out at that point in my life. So that was difficult, but the cost was certainly worth it.
I was gonna say, was it like, how known was it when you were kids that like, oh yeah, like as you're like, you're outside riding a bike or something like that, oh yeah, there goes Charlie Brown, there goes Peppermint Patty, like in your neighborhoods, like did all the kids know, or was it like a big deal, or?
I mean, yes, kids knew at school, because I mean, it was kind of hard to hide, the big stretch limousine pulling up at the school.
That is fair.
But it was. I mean, that's one of the things about being a voice actor for cartoons, is that you're not recognizable anywhere, really. I mean, unless I'm wearing some Charlie Brown swag, and
why would you ever do that?
And I offer it up necessarily. Oh, look at that thing. So that used to be me.
Yeah.
For me, it wasn't Peppermint Patty. It was Annie. And it was so recognizable at that time. And I was literally, like, I was on TV every day. They ran commercials. And I was on every single talk show, every morning show, so I would be at the mall and I'd hear somebody scream, Annie! And somebody would be running through the mall trying to catch me. So that was a whole different level.
Did you have like the hair always, like the Annie haircut and stuff like?
So the curly is a wig that they would put on at the end of the show, but I had a really short, and my hair was red, but deeper red than this, and to be fair, I wore a satin Annie jacket, So it was like really kind of obvious who I was.
You had it coming.
But there were moments that got strange. There were moments that got dangerous. I still cannot be in large crowds. Like at Christmas time, I can't go to the mall and go shopping from being in a bad situation when I was a kid doing that.
That's horrible. Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. I mean, I just find other ways to shop at Christmas, but
There you go.
certainly my parents didn't understand how that would shape my future, you know. And it wasn't even something that I realized until I was probably in my 20s. I just knew if I got into a crowd, I would have a panic attack. And it was only later that I went, oh, that's because of...
So you're kind of excited that malls are going away pretty much, right?
Huh?
Not a big mall person, you're kind of excited, like, hey, look, the mall's closing, yay.
Not a big mall person. Nope.
Man, right here.
So there was an open call, which they often do in theater. Apparently, there were 2,000 little girls that showed up for the audition. Normally, at an audition, they allow you to sing 8 bars, which is a chorus of a song.
Like the sun will come out tomorrow?
Yes, and that would be all that you would sing. And my sister went in before me, and she sang her entire song. And everybody was outside going, wait a minute, why does she get to sing her whole song? That's not fair. And my sister walks out, and I walk in, and I sing my entire song. And they're like, wait a minute, what's going on? We were the only 2 people that showed up not singing a song from the show. They had heard these songs thousands and thousands and thousands of times, and here were 2 girls that walked in singing something completely different. So yeah, they let us sing our entire song. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but the producer that was there for the audition walked out, got on a payphone and called Martin Charnin, the director and the guy who wrote Annie, called him in New York and said, I've got her. And he said, no, you've been at this an hour. He said, I know, but wait till you meet her. I got her. So, yeah, that was kind of cool.
That's so cool. It's awesome. Sir, right here.
Have you guys ever used, or has there in the final product, has there ever been a tape where you're like, oh man, they really used that one that I took? Like, you know, I'm kind of specific, like any memories that come out, like, why did they use that specific?
I mean, yes, but I mean, but not for me, not from a disaster standpoint. So one of the things, one of the gags, obviously, is Lucy pulling the football away from Charlie Brown, and that's an enduring gag. And of course, when Charlie Brown goes flying through the air, he screams. And so in You're a Good Sport, Charlie Brown, there was a scene where Charlie Brown has the football pulled away again, and it goes flying through the air, and I did my scream, and I was happy with my scream. And they used it in the show, but then, I don't know, 25 years later, I get a call from an ad agency that wants to use the scream from that clip for a commercial that they were doing. And I'm like, I started laughing because I'm like, they were going to pay me $600 for something that I had done, 2.5 decades before. It was a 10-second clip. I mean, it was like unbelievable. I mean, I just couldn't believe that. So in that sense, I couldn't believe that.
Interesting. So my story is that I was doing Bon Voyage Charlie Brown, and there's this whole scene where Peppermint Patty is yelling at Charlie Brown, and she's going, hey kid, hope you're doing okay back there. Don't be scared, Charlie Brown. Well, my voice cracked, and they all laughed, and I was like, don't use that one.
And here we are.
They used that one.
So
Still salty about it.
So obviously, we were talking about all the merch over the years, right? So one of the big things with Penis is, all the Hallmark stuff that talks and stuff. Are any of those your voices, your cuts in your voices, or are they just re-recording stuff now from scratch? Do you know? Like, have you ever got like, oh, hey, here's a check from Hallmark because we put you on, a bookend or something, and it
If
talks.
they've used my voice, I didn't get paid for it.
Ah, there we go. The American way. No, I was just curious because because there's a lot of, like Valentine's Day, they do Valentine's ornaments, and they're very specific lines from the episodes. I was just curious. I mean, of course, now you can probably have anyone do it and modify it in an app or something, but.
Yeah. I know with other shows that, because I've met certain people who were like, oh yeah, I'm the voice of Barney for all of the toy lines. So I know there are some that do that. I just have never known any of us to say, oh yeah, I was the voice in this line of toys.
Yeah, 'cause I think there was a big thing a while ago. The lady who did Dora the Explorer when she was younger, they kept using her lines in all like the scene says and all that stuff in the pop-up books, and she wasn't getting anything for it. And there was a whole big shebanger. But I was just curious. I don't know if I know if that went all the way back to like y'all's day where.
Now, did she end up like suing them?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was like a whole big thing where
Good for her.
all the Dora toys were her voice, and she wasn't getting a cent out of it. And
Good
of course,
for her.
they were selling like insane amounts of product.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and
For me, it was. I mean, that was the benefit of joining the Screen Actors Guild. In order to become a voice actor, you had to join the Screen Actors Guild. And I remember back in the time, it was $200. I mean, this is 1973. $200 was a lot of money back in '73.
Yeah.
But and I forked it over because I had to in order to get the contract. And that was the best $200 I've ever spent in my life because they track everything. It's all done through Screen Actors Guild. I don't keep track of any of this stuff. I mean, I just get these checks randomly in the mail, and they still come in even today.
Yeah.
50 plus years later, and thanks to the Screen Actors Guild, they're on top of it.
Just mystery checks. Yeah, I think it's $5K now for your intro SAG card. Right about that.
5K now. Holy
5K.
Yeah.
smokes.
Yeah, it's like 5K
yeah,
now.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, actually, I was supposed to
$200 sounds pretty good now.
Yeah, I was supposed to get one for something. I'm like,
And
I'll just not talk. 'cause-
What's interesting is that only 28% of the people who pay the dues every year make enough to qualify for the insurance. You have to make $28,000 of new work every year
Is it
in
like
order
off of like 3 credits too or something? They have to have like so many. Isn't there like something with the SAG stuff where it's like it's the amount, and then also it can't just be from one thing. You have to do like at least 3 things in the period or something like that. I thought there was some weird rule like that.
I didn't know
Something-
that part.
I
but-
could be incorrect. I thought I heard that somewhere.
But
when
I
was
know
looking
lots of
for
people
Reddit.
that would make $28,000 in a year on residuals, but residuals no longer count. It has to
Oh,
be
yeah.
fresh work.
Fresh work.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
it's crazy. So the only people that are making it are your superstars.
Yeah. Bummer.
Right?
Sure, you had a question.
I just wanted to ask you, first off, I've enjoyed listening to people talk.
Thank you.
Second thing is, I know what the iconic lines are because I can think about it when I'm a kid, but what's your favorite line and do it in your best voice of your character?
You sly dog. And my other favorite is, don't hassle me with your size, Chuck.
I think that probably the line that I used when in Be My Valentine, Charlie Brown, when the group came to give Charlie Brown a used Valentine, and I think that Linus sort of steps in and says, hey, Charlie Brown doesn't want your used Valentine, and I sort of pushed Linus aside and said, don't listen to him, I'll take it.
That's awesome. Yeah. We had a director at work whose name was Charles, and he would come and be like, "Hiya, Chuck." I do it to everyone named that, so it's like ingrained in my head. Okay.
She's had her hand up
Yeah,
for
no,
quite a
go
while.
ahead, go ahead. There you go. Sorry.
It's actually a hard question to answer. I mean, I was in 3 of them, and they were all very, very different. And I've learned things about them since then that I did not know myself. So my favorite one is probably the one that's the most obscure one, which is You're a Good Sport, Charlie Brown. And that's where Charlie Brown enters a motocross race. And then what's unique about that one is that, number one, Charlie Brown wins something, which is very unusual for Charlie Brown. It turns out that a couple years ago, I got invited to Peanuts Night at the San Francisco Giants game, and I got to yell "play ball" in front of the crowd. But I also got to hang out in the suite, the owner's box with Craig Schultz, Charles Schultz's son. And it turns out that You're a Good Sport was Craig Schultz's favorite one because it was based on his life. He was a motocross racer back when he was a kid, and so they did a whole Charlie Brown special on that one. And then it turns out that 2 other things were kind of cool about that. Number one, it won an Emmy Award, which I did not know. So I was part of an Emmy Award-winning TV show. And I also was the credited voice actor for Franklin in You're a Good Sport, Charlie Brown, which I did not know until about 2 years ago. So that one is my favorite one.
Double residual check.
So mine is from Bon Voyage, Charlie Brown, and Don't Come Back, which is my voice, but it's not my scene. So in Bon Voyage, they're student exchanges in France. And so Snoopy, as the World War I flying ace or World War II flying ace, whatever he is, the Red Baron goes to this bar in France. And he's knocking back root beers throughout the thing, and they're playing music from World War II. So it's like sentimental journey, and he starts crying, and the tears are going, and then they play Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, and he's dancing, and it's just like, if I'm having a bad day, I will put that 5 minutes of cinema on, and it is my favorite all-time of anything I've ever watched, not just Peanuts, but it's so funny and joyful and just plain fun that it always makes me feel better.
That's amazing. Who else has one? Bud, you raising your hand? Stand up, Bud. Actually, hold on.
You need to project your voice.
What gave you guys the idea of being the voices of Peppermint Patty and Charlie Brown?
I mean, for me, I didn't think about it. It's just that he came to see the show and offered me the part.
What was the question?
What made you think about being Charlie Brown?
Oh gosh, well, my Charlie Brown origin story is very Charlie Brownish. So I was not an actor in any respect. I was in 3rd grade at my elementary school in Tiburon, California at recess one day. And the bell rang to go back to class, and I was dutifully heading back to class when I noticed that there was a line had formed outside of a classroom that was not my own. And I thought that looked way more interesting than where I was going, so I stood in the line. I didn't know when I got to the front of the line, they were like, thanks for coming in today. What character would you like to read for? And I was like, I don't even know what this line was for, so I don't know. So they said, sit down and read these lines. I did. 15 seconds later, I was on my way back to class, didn't think anything of it, didn't tell my parents about it. And 3 weeks later, the producers, Bill Melendez and Lee Mendelson, called my parents up to say, we liked your son's voice test. And my mom was like, who are you? What are you talking about? Because I hadn't told him about it. And, the rest of it is just, Charlie Brown history.
That is my favorite origin story of all the ones that it's so Charlie Brown. I love it.
That is insane.
Yeah, I mean, talk about dumb luck.
Wow. That is crazy. Wow. Well, good job. Who else? Right here, sir.
Yeah, I think that's one of the unique things about the Peanuts characters in general. I mean, other than maybe Bill Melendez, who was the voice of Snoopy in Woodstock, traditional voice actors, playing, Looney Tunes or whatever, the voice actor inhabits a character and then projects that. All the Peanuts actors are using their normal voice. I mean, the only thing that really changes is with the direction, the inflection of the voice, or the volume and whatnot. But that's why I always sort of laugh, because there's not a lot of talent involved with it. Sitting down in front of a microphone and just reading in your voice, it just happens to have sounded like the Charlie Brown before me.
So I have to say something that I have found really interesting in getting to know other voices from Peanuts. What I've discovered is that we are all our characters. I am so Peppermint Patty. Lucy is so Lucy.
So Lucy.
Both of the Charlie Browns that I know are so Charlie Brown, and I love that. I had wondered sometimes, did they choose us because of our vocal quality, or because of who we were as people, that we just embodied these characters, and the rest of it just sort of fit together?
I think there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah.
It's crazy with how fast they can, whip stuff up now. They do South Park in 7 days per episode, things like that. Why not get all you guys together and do it's your 40th high school reunion, Charlie Brown, or something with your voices now? Why not?
I of course I would jump at an opportunity like that, but I think that they will never go that direction, because they have really kept this a kid's world. They do not feature adults in any real way. I mean, even when if the adults are talking, it's a muted trombone.
Yeah.
You know, you don't hear the voice of the adult because that's what it sounds like to a kid anyway,
Like
right?
mother babies, yeah.
So I mean, you know, it's always intriguing. I mean, I love seeing the sort of the fantasy of what they might have become. Like, you know, like when Family Guy did that sort of little thing about, you know, what the, you know,
Yeah.
Charlie Brown thing. That was hilarious.
It
I
was.
thought it was hilarious, right? But, you know, I really am protective of the brand, and, you know, and I understand why they've kept it the way it is because it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it'd be really fun to do Desperate Housewives meets Peanuts.
Oh my God, sign me up.
I mean, even like you guys should like start like a YouTube channel and get on Zoom, all you guys, and just read the comic strips now with the current voice or something. I'll watch it. Who else? Who we got?
idea.
Do you think that we're ready for live action, or should it always stay animated?
Ooh, live action Peanuts.
Boy, you know, it's funny because as I'm thinking that through, I mean, that's the first time I've even heard that question and I'm contemplating it sort of in real time. And I think, you know, because, I mean, if you were doing it as an adult play, right, it might work because you'd be able to, you'd have better trained actors, I think. But, I mean, you could probably assemble the right cast to do that. I mean, it would be really certainly interesting. You'd have to really get the chemistry going, you know, those people would have to inhabit the characters even if they were using their regular voice because those personalities were so strong that, you know, I think that would be the hardest part about casting a live action thing would be to find the actual Lucys of the world to inhabit that character and then play off of the Charlie Brown thing. Because Lucy's, you know, if you think about it, Lucy's consistently pretty mean, right? And, you know, and so you'd have to find somebody with that kind of a personality to go along with the acting skill.
I think I read something like in the early days of the internet, back when you know what you could trust, that when the Little Rascals movie came out and did okay enough, they were possibly looking at it and they just couldn't get things going with it. I think it might have been because they were at that point in time they were trying to take everything. They did like a Leave It to Beaver movie and they did Little Rascals and Dennis the Menace and stuff like that. And they were trying to do another Munsters and all that. So they're trying to bring all these old IPs back. And I read somewhere that they tried to do Peanuts, and whether they just couldn't find the right kids or they couldn't get something together script-wise that got approved, because I think the family still had the approval back then. I don't know how that works, but, you know, law stuff. Okay, we can probably squeeze in one more. Okay, if you can go quick, we'll get you both in. Rapid fire.
Yeah.
Difference between stage acting and voice recording. Literally, like, you know, stage acting, you get the response right away.
Day and night. Stage acting is a month of preparation, learning lines and dances and memorizing everything. You walk into a studio with voice acting, they have a script in front of you, and you literally just stand there and read it. Like, it's the easiest job ever.
Awesome.
Yeah, with the squawking adults, do you get to know what they were actually saying, or you're just directed how to react?
No, I never knew what they were saying.
Well, they weren't saying anything. That was the whole sort of point, meaning because that's literally, it wasn't words. That's, you know, even if it was words from the adult, what they were hearing was the trombone. I mean, I don't think that's actually too far away from what it's like for a lot of kids with their parents. You know, they just hear wah 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 wah. You know, that's how they hear the language.
It's my understanding it was actually a mix of Bill Melendez and the trombone.
You could be right.
I could be wrong, too. I have been known to be wrong.
Good grief.
And on that note...
On that note,